Xi Jinping's failing Chinese economy is becoming dangerous. August 20, 2026. China's economy is facing a prolonged slowdown as the limits of its state-directed growth model become increasingly clear. Official GDP figures remain positive, with the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, reporting 4.7% growth in the first half of the year. Yet independent estimates have long suggested that actual growth is far weaker, raising doubts about the reliability of official statistics. The problems are structural. China's once booming property sector, which accounted for roughly a quarter of GDP, remains depressed. Local governments struggle with huge debts and insufficient revenues, while state banks continue to support inefficient borrowers. This diverts capital away from more productive private businesses. Unemployment is another major concern, particularly among young people. Youth unemployment has exceeded 20%, although the government has stopped publishing some figures. Premier Li Qiang has acknowledged the urgency by declaring that economic policy must be employment first. Without more jobs, social discontent could grow, either through open protests or through the growing phenomenon of lying flat, in which young people withdraw from the pursuit of conventional careers. China also suffers from involution, intense competition among companies that pushes down prices and profits, reduces funds for research and development and weakens tax revenues. Rather than allowing inefficient companies to fail, local governments often protect them with subsidies and cheap loans, perpetuating overcapacity and low productivity. Demographics make matters worse. Both China's working-age population and total population are declining, weakening future demand and making sustained economic expansion more difficult. President Xi Jinping is therefore betting heavily on new quality productive forces, industries based on artificial intelligence, quantum technology, biotechnology, and advanced materials. But these sectors accounted for only slightly more than 6% of GDP in 2025, far too little to replace the economic role once played by property. Moreover, automation could worsen unemployment at a time when China must find jobs for more than 12 million graduates each year. Exports have provided another temporary source of growth. China recorded a trade surplus of more than $886 billion last year, and the figure could rise further. But subsidized Chinese exports are increasingly provoking protectionist responses abroad. Even countries politically closer to Beijing are becoming concerned about the destruction of their domestic industries. Trade tensions and national security concerns are likely to limit China's export-driven strategy. Domestic consumption offers little relief. Household consumption accounts for only about 40% of GDP, unusually low by international standards, and has barely increased during Xi's rule. Chinese households save heavily because pensions, healthcare and social security provision remain limited. Xi's opposition to welfarism further constrains efforts to encourage consumption. Ultimately, China's economic problems are political as much as economic. Debt is estimated at more than 300% of GDP, but resolving it requires deciding who will bear the cost, households, companies, or the state. Xi has prioritized military expansion, technological dominance, industrial self-reliance, and strategic competition with the United States rather than empowering consumers and private businesses. That reflects a fundamental contradiction. Greater economic giving citizens and private companies power could generate political demands that the CCP fears. Surveillance and repression may preserve political control, but they do little to promote productive growth. China's economic weakness therefore poses risks beyond its borders. A prolonged reliance on subsidized exports, an undervalued currency, overcapacity and barriers to foreign competition could overwhelm industries in countries such as Britain. Economic dependence can ultimately become political dependence. For China and its trading partners, Xi's promised win-win approach risks becoming something closer to lose-lose. By The Telegraph, story by Charles Parton.